Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Jerseys with Josh. Super glad to have you here. Today, we're continuing with our featured collector series, and I'm joined by Chris Lipka. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
Absolutely. You've got an awesome New Jersey Devils collection. By the way, folks, if you'd like to follow Chris on Instagram, and I suggest you do, you can do so at NJD underscore collector. Chris, how'd you get into collecting jerseys? Do you remember your first replica or jersey in general?
Yeah, so I've been collecting jerseys in general, whether it be replica or authentics, um, really since I was younger. I remember getting my first one when I was about 8, 9 years old, back in the first season when the Devils switched over from the red and green over to the red and black. That was in the 92, 93 season. And my first jersey was a kid-sized John McClain jersey, and it was blank. And I remember, back then, it's not like how it is now, where a lot of these places where you get jerseys, they customize it right there, and you get it pretty much all set up, and it's a flat rate. Back then, it was a little different. You had to go to a sports shop. There was one nearby me called Sports Mind at Unlimited. It happened to be in my town, and you would go there and they would send it out to who knows where to get it stitched. And back then, they actually did the stitching not as a flat fee, but by each individual letter and number. So that's why I remember in the 90s, at least, in the arena, you would see a lot of Stevens, Brodeur, Danico jerseys, but not too many Niedermeyers or any of those names that are, shoulder to shoulder, because that would just cost a little fortune just to get those done. After I basically outgrew that, my second jersey was actually the starter replica that I had made up as Mike Peluso. Um, and that one was one I just wore all the time. It was a white one. And by the time I went on to my next one back around 99, 2000, that one was just covered in everything from the arena. We had season tickets. I went to a couple dozen games a year. We shared the season tickets. And by the time I retired it was like hot chocolate on it. There was all sorts of general filth and just dirty and messy. I still have both of those jerseys. They're still hanging. And yes, that one, the Peluso, is still quite dirty. Uh, you go flash forward to when I was in college. So that's around the mid 2000s. I really started getting more into actually acquiring jerseys in a sort of like in a collector sort of sense, not just having it as a fan. Previous to that, I was always interested in the jerseys, but it just collecting just never really entered my realm of thinking. And I would collect everything, replicas, authentics, even those ridiculous Mitchell and Ness jerseys that they did, which are way long, and big, but they were nice and heavy. And eventually by around 2010, I would say I had maybe about 100-ish, maybe a little bit more, 120-ish, like replicas and authentic jerseys in my collection. And it was around that time that I went and joined some Devils forums. Before that, I was kind of just a fan on my own little island. I didn't really use social media for that kind of thing. And that's when I discovered about game worn jerseys. It's like, holy crap, you can buy the ones that you know that the players wear. I'm like, I thought the team keeps that and that's their property, and it's wow. And I saw that's when I found out about my gray for the first time. Oh, there's a place. Oh, and they're nearby me. I actually live about 10, 15 minutes from my gray right now. And I grew up about 10 minutes from where I live right now. So, wow, there's a place that's nearby that has all this stuff. And oh my God, that's expensive.
Yeah, it
So,
sure is.
yeah, it's you get sticker shock when you first see it, when you're collecting, replicas. And back in those days, I was buying replicas on the cheap to resell on eBay for the most part. It was basically a flipper. But those were back in the days when a replica jersey, you could still get $100 for it, even if you flip it. Now, replicas, these days are basically worthless. And now with the Fanatics, it's not even worth getting into. At least for me. I know some people love them, and that's totally cool. And then I bought my first game worn in 2011. It was an Amy Green game worn, and I got it for like $160.
Oh man.
I mean, cool. I mean, this is something that the player wore, and you, when you first get it, you see it, and you're like, this feels different than what they sell in the store. This is actually there, and you see the game use, and it's just really cool to see. And after that, I didn't really get serious about collecting until about 2 years later in 2013. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. I sold off pretty much my entire collection of replica authentics to get into to fund my game worn purchasing. I used to be into collecting music. I sold off most of that collection to fund my game worn obsession, and basically that's where it's led me to now.
So cool, so cool. I roughly the same age as you, I think, and I think back to hockey cards that I collected, and for me, I still think green. That when the Devils were wearing the green and red and sorting those cards and thinking about that. Have you ever had any of the earlier green jerseys?
Yeah, I actually have owned a few of those jerseys over the years. I currently only down to one now, which is a 91-92 Laurie Boschman. Has the beautiful 75th anniversary patch, has the nice Devils 10th anniversary. It's a patch, it's photo matched. It's really nice. I've owned others like a Tom Curvers game worn, a Kasatonov one from that time period. At one point, I did own an 82-83 Mike Moher jersey. Now, this is a guy who played less than 10 games in the NHL. Had it. It was, I liked it. It was great. Inaugural year Devils jerseys, especially the price I paid for it, don't come along too often. But after a while, I'm like, why do I have it? I have no connection to it. So I sold it. But what helped me kind of part with it is that I actually sold it to Mike Moher's stepson.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, he actually found me on a Devils forum. I forgot which one it was, but he actually found me and created a profile and reached out to me because I mentioned it on there. And he happened to live in New Jersey as well. Actually, he was going to school here in New Jersey at that time. So it was just, I guess it was fate. And he wanted to give it to him as either a birthday or Christmas gift. One of those two. And yeah, I mean, at that point, it was just easy for me to sell it.
Oh, definitely. That it's always cool, and you can, help reunite a player and their family with the jersey. That's super cool. And the fact that you live near My Gray is pretty incredible. Geez, I imagine I'd be going to the expos if I were you. Is that something you do from time to time?
Yeah, I've been going to the expo for about the last 10-ish years. Since the early 2010s. I forgot when was my first one. Is either 11 or I remember going to the 2012. I'm not sure if I went to maybe one or two earlier. My memory's a little fuzzy there. But I have been having a table the last 4 years. They've actually had an expo. So I had a collector's table showing off my Devils collection, and I reserved one for this year. So I'm looking forward to showing off again after, what is it now, almost 3 years. Basically the last 2 years were canceled due to COVID, and I have plenty of new goodies to show off.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to hopefully seeing you there. I've never had the privilege of going. 15 years in the hobby. Hoping this one will be my first year, so fingers crossed. Always great to kind of talk and learn your background in the hobby, so thanks for sharing all that let's dive into the meat of it. Let's talk about your jerseys. You've got a lot of incredible ones. We're going to look at just a few. Why not start with the Mike Peluso 94-95?
Yes. So here is my Mike Peluso Red Set 1 94-95. It's an ultra fill. Now, what's interesting about this is that the Devils being who they were at basically in the 90s with Lou, they didn't really, they were known to recycle jerseys. So this one was actually recycled into a Sharafianov preseason gamer in 98-99, so 4 years later. And so this nameplate is actually restored. I think it was, from what I understand, it was restored by a dealer who sold this down the line. They did a good job though on it, but I have this photo matched. This is the one that you see where every time they write an article about Mike Peluso, currently or anything about him, they always show that one picture of him up in Quebec playing, and this is the jersey he's wearing in that photo. It has some good battle damage on it. There's on the neck they actually cut into the collar and added some material in there to widen it. There's also some nice marks all over, a popped collar. It's just really awesome. And from what I understand, he wore this for most of the, or if not all of the regular season away games in 94-95. And Mike Peluso being one of my all-time favorite Devils, this is just a really special jersey to me. He's still one of my top 5 all-time favorite Devils, part of the infamous crash line with McKay and Holik. And Peluso Devils jerseys are just incredibly rare to find. I mean, Peluso jerseys in general, whether it be Chicago or I know Ottawa and St. Louis, they're just hard to find in general. I think there's only 3 Devils Mike Pelusos that I'm aware of. There might be more that I'm not aware of, but there's only 3, and I have one of them. So this is just really special for me, this jersey.
That's so cool.
If there's like 2 or 3 jerseys I can take with me to be buried in my coffin, this is one of them.
That's crazy, man. Does it have any set tagging or anything inside the hem?
Yes, it does. From what I remember, yes, it does. It does have the custom crafted set tagging, which is typical of that time. I know with the lockout shortened season, it was a little bit kind of a little bit crazy in terms of the set tags. I know in the finals, they most if not all the players wore air knits, but during the regular season they wore ultra fill like this jersey, and there was a little bit mixing and matching, and some even got recycled into 95-96. So just a little bit of it was a weird time for Devils jerseys.
Well, I think the 90s was, the documenting and the collecting of jerseys was still I think early-ish days. I mean, yes, people were collecting them, but it wasn't like today, certainly not with like holograms and tags everywhere and paperwork. It was sure they stamped it and everything, but it wasn't like top of mind for them.
Oh, absolutely. It was, the trainer needed something. The trainers did it the way that was easiest for them. And that's it. These days now they actually, they kind of almost cater to the hobby, where with the holograms, making sure all the sets are correct, the documentation. So yeah, it's just how it was back then, kind of like the Wild West.
Yeah, no, exactly. And even with the prime green jerseys today showing so much more wear than the jerseys they've been recently using, it to your point, yeah, it to a certain extent it kind of caters to folks like us who want to collect it. So very, very cool jersey in your collection, man.
Thank you. And yeah, I haven't gotten the prime green yet, but hopefully will come soon, and I'll check out the wear on that. I'm looking forward to it. Everybody I've talked to have said, the prime greens have some awesome wear on them.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Stay tuned, folks. Let's talk about a Claude Lemieux that you've got there. What an interesting player. Remember watching him very vividly. And this one's got some special patching, so I'm excited for you to share this one.
Yeah, so I have a 99 2000 Claude Lemieux white set one. And it's the 1 year that Devils wore Pro Player. And Pro Player is, in my opinion, still the best jersey ever. I know some other collectors have also shared it, not just from Devils collectors, but others. They're just built so well. Even the replicas are built very well. And yeah, this is no different. They're sturdy, but they're soft. I don't know what they made them out of, but it's awesome. This one has really good wear, especially on the sleeves. Trying to put it in, you can see
Wow.
some damage
Oh
on
yeah.
there, some unrepaired holes, some repairs on it. Let's see. I think there's some more on this side. Yeah, there's some nice wear on there. And of course, it came with the 2000 patch. Now, you could see right here, there's the Stanley Cup Finals patch. The one thing, though, is that this is most likely not worn in the Stanley Cup Finals, unfortunately.
Come on, Chris, you're breaking my heart.
I'm sorry, I know. Yeah, it's just something that the Devils did that year, where when they reached the finals against Dallas, they needed a backup set to the ones they were using in the finals. So they just took everyone's set one, slapped on a patch, and hey, that's your backup set. So most white set one Devils that you see have actually that Stanley Cup Finals patch on it. And I know that can kind of fool some collectors, some novice collectors into thinking, "Hey, I got a Stanley Cup Finals one." When not so fast. You may have to do some more research, do some photo matching on it. Now it's possible Claude may have wore this in the finals, but because he was known as a player who switched jerseys in between periods at games, but I haven't found any, and looking at watching hockey games on standard definition and trying to photo match is it's definitely a process and a very large task to put it mildly.
Definitely. That's super cool. Now, does this one have set tagging? Is it similar to the other one?
For what I remember, this does not, and no, it does not have any set tags. But I do know that, and I have seen it, and I do have it somewhere, I should say. Photo match to a few games during the season, so I
Yeah,
know it's
and
legit and everything.
yeah, no, I think this is a perfect time to highlight the fact that, whether it's got a letter or tagging or not on both or either, doesn't guarantee anything. Photo matching is like the best way. And if you've got it photo matched, I'm certain you're in good shape.
Oh, absolutely. Another year the Devils actually didn't really use any set tags was 2002, 2003 during the regular season and up until really the finals. The finals in 03 was really the first year that they used set tagging, and that was the migrate tags. For some reason, they just did not put, there's no custom crafted stamp, even though custom crafted was still doing them at that time. There's nothing. So I know that's just a weird year to collect jerseys from because there's no tagging and you basically have to rely on LOA, which can work, or photo matching, which is the best way.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. Wow, that's a cool one. And we'll shift gears now into a player that I have a special place in my heart for as a 90s kid, especially as a goalie, Chris Terrari. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites too. When I first started getting season tickets to the games, at least my family, I should say, it was in the 91-92 season. And Chris Terrari was the main goaltender. And that's when I think of Devils, I think of, honestly, when I think of goalies for Devils, I think of Terrari before Brodeur. I know that's sacrilegious for a lot of Devils fans, but that's just my memory of it. And this is a 2001 white set one Chris Terrari. This was worn just in a handful of games in that season. This was the first year where they went to the CCM tagging on the neck. It was also the season where he was back up to Brodeur, and Brodeur for a majority of his career played 70, 75 plus games, which meant that whoever was his backup had basically the easiest job on the planet. You get paid a lot of money to maybe play 5 to 10 games. This is no different. This was worn in a handful. So for a goalie jersey, the wear is a little light, but there are some nice markings on the front. Not sure if it's coming through. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can definitely see that.
And this was, from what I understand, I think this was his last white jersey that he wore as a member of the New Jersey Devils. He was traded later in that season to the Islanders for Van Beesbrook. They went to the finals that year and unfortunately lost to the Avalanche. But yeah, this is just a great jersey. This has a lot of meaning to me in terms of childhood because of when I grew up. This has a nice set tag on it. Actually, no, this is not a set one. This is a set two. I misspoke. I have so many jerseys, I forget which tags go with which. So it's a nice custom crafted stamp right on the inside bottom hem. Yeah, it's, and this is another one where this is in contention to be put in my casket with me.
Oh, maybe you'll sell it to me instead of putting it in the ground.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
Would be a waste to put it into the ground. And yeah, I mean, my wife has permission. I told her to sell just about every jersey in my collection if I ever leave this planet one day.
Oh my God, so funny. All right, let's talk Andy Green. He was man, he's quite the devil.
Yes, and this year he's just reached 1,000 games. Unfortunately for me as a Devils fan, though, he did it as an Islander, but I won't hold it against him. He is also one of my top 5 favorite Devils of all time. At one point, I had several, maybe 7 or 8 of his jerseys, like a Lowell Devils one, an AHL All-Star one. Had a whole bunch. Now I only have 2, which I think are 2 important ones. One is a Stanley Cup Finals from 2012, Andy Green, and the other one is this one, which is 2000. Let me hold it up better. 2006, 2007, Andy Green. It's a red set 1. Now, what's cool about this is that this is actually his NHL debut jersey.
Oh, that's cool.
And he scored his first point. Not his first goal, unfortunately. That was in Pittsburgh, from what I remember, but his first point in this jersey as a rookie.
Show me that 25th patch. That's a good looking patch.
Yeah, it's a really nice patch. One thing I wish the Devils would do a little bit more would be these anniversary patches. Next year is going to be, I think their 40th anniversary. So I hope they're doing something for that, but they haven't done anything since the 25th. So my hopes is not sky high, unfortunately. But I wish they would do more.
So funny. No, this is a cool, NHL debut. That's pretty special for sure.
Definitely. It has some decent wear on it. Has a little hole here. Let's see on the straight. It has some marks. It's a nice Reebok 6100. A little bit of staining on the arms. This is one I was searching for quite a while, for a number of years. And one day this appeared on eBay, and the seller was from the town that I grew up in. So this whole coincidence I've been looking for, and it's right around the corner from me. So I was very happy to get it, to say the least.
That's great. Really impressed by it. And I have a question as we're walking
Sure.
through all of these. How often do you embark on the photo matching process for the jerseys you have?
So I try to do it with pretty much every jersey I have. When I'm looking at jerseys, one of the things I look for is to photo match. Um, I go on Getty. I go through just any kind of stock photos, whether it's Google. I even go on eBay, look at photos there, hockey cards. I love photo matching to hockey cards. Um, I once had this Andy Green game worn from 2007, 2008. It was white set one. It was the set that they wore Edge 1.0s. And just like the Prime Green, the Edge 1.0s showed wear pretty well, especially marks on it, whether it's from sticks or pucks. And I photo matched the jersey to a hockey card of that Andy Green with some very, very distinctive marks on the front, right underneath the crest. Now, what's interesting is that card had a game used jersey swatch in it. So it's like, oh, okay, that's interesting, because you would think, if you're not really into cards, you're like, oh, okay, there's, that's from that jersey in the photo. When it's like, no, it's not necessarily from there.
Good point. Yeah, maybe another, must have been another set that year, or even a
That
different year, right? Like,
it could be. I can only speculate. Sometimes they say in the back it's promo, where sometimes they go to Upper Deck or whoever's office, throw it on for 5 minutes, and then take it right off. And hey, it's event or promo worn or whatever. But I always find it fun to photo match these jerseys. That is one of the things I always look for authentication. I'm not so stuck on LOAs. I know some people put a huge amount of value in it, and they do provide value. I'm not going to say LOAs are worthless. I know that's a ongoing debate a lot in not just the game worn hockey, but just game worn in general, and sports memorabilia. But I do put more of a priority on the photo match over LOAs or anything else like that.
yeah, agreed. Every jersey has a different story, and it's all about kind of doing your homework and knowing what's out there, and how to, photo match and look at the documentation and evaluate it. And you can also always get them authenticated if you want it. I know My Gray offers that. I'm sure others do too. But yeah, no, so I appreciate that little segue there. Let's talk about the last jersey we're just going to highlight. We could go all day with your collection. We got a Jack Hughes to talk about.
Yeah, I figured I'd highlight him since he's doing all right now. I think pretty good. Uh, he's at a more than a point a game pace. This is Jack Hughes, 2020-21. This is listed as white set 2, but it's also actually a promo set. It was worn in one game. It was worn on a game in April of 2021 against the Philadelphia Flyers in Philly. It's even actually, let me show you this too. It's actually even written on the fight strap.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah. I think that's kind of neat in how they did that, and it has, the normal, My Gray and Philly Express kind of tagging on there as well. And from what I understand, the reason why this was worn in one game is that the Devils, prior to last year, which was a year that was shortened due to COVID, the Devils leading up to the season, to raise money for charity, they were doing these online, I guess, auctions. And some of the things they were auctioning were these player gift boxes, I can only call them. There was, I know a PK Subban, there was a Hughes, and I think there might have been a Nico Heischer one. But in each of them, there was a game used stick, game used jersey, and I think there might have been gloves or a helmet. I forgot what the other ones on, but it was basically like a set of game used items. And from what I gather, this was actually the one that was in the Hughes one. So I did purchase it down the line. Unfortunately, I was not the one who won the auction, but at the same time, I might have saved some money that way. But for a one-game jersey, you know, it does have lighter wear, but it does have a mark on the top here. I'm not sure if you can really see it too well. And I was able to photo match it to that, as well as a couple other small ones on the sleeves. But he is, I know some people are probably may roll their eyes at it, but there is loose thread matches. I do believe a little bit, at least a little bit, that carries a little bit of water, in my opinion, especially when they're distinctive. But he looks to be the future of the franchise, and glad to get a game worn jersey from at least a game in his sophomore season.
That's super cool, man. Chris, you've got an incredible Devils collection. I'm really grateful. Thanks for coming on the show to talk about them with me.
Yeah, anytime. I'm always, free to talk to anyone about my collection. I mean, to me, part of the reason why you collect is to share as well. I know some people like to keep their collection kind of under lock and key, which is totally fine. And I can understand the multitude of reasons why. But I think, if you get into a hobby, you got to enjoy it. And being able to talk to others about it, showing off your collection, seeing people's their collection, from others, even looking at jerseys from the Rangers, which is the sworn enemy of the Devils, I get fascinated by it, and it's always great just to talk about them and just look at what other teams did, and seeing jerseys that these hockey greats wore. You go to the Migrate Expo, and they have stuff in there that I think would put the Hockey Hall of Fame to shame. And it's such a neat hobby, and I can go on for days, if not weeks, talking about this.
No, I love it, man. I'm right there with you. It's all about the community. Super grateful for our time together. Other collector friends, if you want to be featured on the show, please reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is @jerseysjosh, or you can email me at jerseyswithjosh@gmail.com. And that'll do it for today. So please hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Also, please subscribe if you haven't already. Would really appreciate that. Thanks everyone for watching, and enjoy the hobby.